Hello, my name is Sibyl Harmony, and this is a video about your spirituality and the energy that's happening here now. And it will change everything. Did you know that you are spirit energy here in a physical body? Many people are walking around and they are not conscious or aware. They only use a small amount of their consciousness, so they're easily programmed by fear, by the mass media, whatever advertisements or things that are sold to them or told to them. What we are mostly influenced by our families, school, religion, our government, and many people live in that realm of consciousness that is what's real, that we are kind of a meat suit, and whoever gets the most toys wins, and we're taught to be competitive. Now, we used to, when we were more in a religious time, more people were in church, we were taught about maybe how not to be a sinner or how to respond to life through our religious beliefs and the things that our families taught us. And we are unaware that we are actually much more than that. We are energy, we are spirit here vibrating, eternal souls vibrating in a physical body. So many people don't tune into the truth of who they are. They live in a kind of a sleepwalking state. And now this started to change as we started to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings through psychology and self help, through maybe a raised awareness of nutrition or crystals or essential oils. And we started to connect with more of who we are really naturally, like who we are as a soul. We started understanding through most esoteric teachings in religion about reincarnation, but through human indoctrination of those, much of the reincarnation has been taken out of mainstream religion, I believe, except for maybe Buddhism, which is most closer to the authentic teachings than most other religions. And so we are taught that we are just basically to stay in kind of this sleep state. And so now we have people talking about awakening or awareness or consciousness. And so what is that? And what's happening? Why does it seem like our world isn't working? The main institutions, we're seeing that there's a lot of corruption. Many people are unhappy through a ruling class. I mean, this country here in America was started so because we didn't want a king or a ruling class. We wanted government by and for the people so that we could become educated. In many times in history, slaves or many people were not allowed to be educated or to read, or women were supposed to stay home in the kitchen and barefoot and not become educated or discover who they are. Or mostly women are more, I celebrate when men are more attracted to spiritual work or awareness or awakening or evolving. But mostly women, because we're more in touch with our feelings, our psychic side. We all have a male and female side. We all have a more practical, doable side, which we need because we're here in a physical body. We need to act as if the physical world is real, but we're in a we're actually, that's not really how we create. We are spirit here in a physical body temporarily. And so a lot of this, like what's going on in the world, why are things so chaotic and not working? Because of all the asleep people, because of all the fear, because of all the competition. Jealousy is one of the lowest energies. And I'm concerned about in our country that young people don't really have the foundation that now there are some that are there are a lot of young people who are interested in waking up. and sometimes using maybe what are called mushrooms or chemicals or nature. I don't know what it's called, to have an awakening, a higher state of consciousness, which is fine. It can be really helpful for some people under, a guided and supported environment or with professional help. But that also is best when it's premised with a solid foundation of spirituality. So how do you have a solid foundation when you are waking up? So let me back up. We'll talk about the solid foundation. But when you are just becoming more aware of your thoughts and your feelings, maybe you're doing therapy, maybe you're become more interested in different esoteric subjects, and maybe you're liking crystals or being out in nature. So you're beginning to come out of that sleep state, that trance state, or the fear state. And as you do that, then you can shift into what we call, so you're coming out of third dimension, you're coming into fourth dimension. So fourth dimensional consciousness is where a lot of people are that are on the spiritual path. So that's where we start to have awareness that we are energy, that we have an aura, that we have chakras, that we have guides, that we can manifest, that we can receive guidance, that we can tap into our higher self or different sources of consciousness. And so that's where a lot of people are right now that are waking up on the spiritual path. And where that leads is to a higher state of consciousness, of fifth dimensional consciousness, where we can manifest with our thoughts and our energy, where we can learn to instantaneously heal, where we are more connected to who we really are, and our purpose, and are either here to be of service or to experience life in a different, more awakened state. And so that's really why we came here. And Spirit supports us in our evolutionary spiritual development as we develop as humans. Now, there have been times on this planet where there wasn't deception, where we had our clairvoyant or clairaudient or clairsentient, which means clairaudient, to hear spirit, to hear higher realms, to clairvoyant, to see spirit, because we live in energy soup. There's spirit everywhere. We're surrounded, but we are limited. When we are limited to this kind of trance state, we are only connecting with what we can see with our physical eyes, or what we can hear from our ear, our regular sound, rather than a more highly developed telepathic communication, which is actually a more effective way of communicating. Or we are getting downloads. We are improving our wisdom and growing spiritually from receiving a download or from connecting with our feelings. So we might at first feel like I'm really more sensitive, or I'm more empathic. And so we can create a foundation for ourselves as we grow and develop spiritually and connect with who we really are and what we're doing here, and all of our abilities and our wisdom, our knowingness, might want to say our truth, because truth has a lot to do with it. So it used to be that people were more connected to who they really were and to these energies. You could see an aura. You could see if someone was being deceptive. You could create easily with your thoughts. And what happened here on Earth is that, for many different reasons, which I won't get into here and don't really know or understand all of them, I don't know everything, but through um, our lack of growth, or our reverse, is so that some could be in control and manage everybody. Humanity's gone through the dark ages. We're still coming out of the dark ages, the age of where you had slave labor, you have people that were struggling, and a few kings or queens who had everything dependent upon, and the people were dependent upon what they did. And that's a lot of what about America, the great experiment of America, was about. And why America is kind of on the forefront and having this battle right now about democracy and, how, do we go backwards? Do women still have our rights? Do we have personal freedoms and rights? Or do we go backwards into a sleep fear state where we're controlled and programmed? And that's why many people say they don't want the woke. They don't want you woke, because either they're programmed against the woke, or they're mostly, those people are just being paid by the few that are in control. And when we wake up to this control, that's when everything changes. It is changing now. We are moving forward. Time does not go backwards. So I support you in your spiritual growth, awareness, and well-being for all humans and animals, for the environment. We are here meant to live in harmony with our environment. That's the feminine principle, not to control or dominate it or destroy it. Because that is it's like, it's our home. Like, why would you destroy your home? So the souls that are here that are about fear or materialism, that think that everything should be about money, and there's nothing wrong with having money, but when you place it over people or value or principle, then it's a problem. Or you wish to control others through fear so that you can be in control. And that's not the natural order that we were meant to be here. Everything here in Earth School is meant to teach you and help you evolve. And there are many souls here now helping us to evolve and grow on a spirit level. That's why there's so many people here right now. And when we awaken and move past this kind of Aryan energy that it's hard for people to see, even psychics and mediums can't see it very well, or spiritual teachers, or this kind of so that's the kind of energy that tells you that only the material or the physical is real, that disease is all about some kind of bio weapon we need, or we need a pill, or we need surgery. And there's actually a much more to our physical well-being, health, and happiness than taking a pill or a surgery. Now, that does save lives. We have medical science that saves lives, but there's also a lot of misunderstanding about really what it means to be vibrantly healthy and happy and at peace, and do well in our lives, to be connected spiritually. And so there are many, either the, very few that want to control everything through the physical, that are not in support of us moving forward and evolving spiritually. But nevertheless, here we are. And that's mainly what my work is about. I help people to find who they are, to create with energy, to understand energy, to awaken to their consciousness, their ability. And the other kind of energy we need to be aware of is a kind of an ego energy. So when people start to wake up or become aware or get a little power, and they're able to create or manifest something, or they use the trappings, like I have long hair, I have these beads, or I have a crystal, or I'm doing yoga or something, and they think that yoga is a physical exercise when it's actually a spiritual experience. They think that because they have this little bit of power, or they're eating a certain diet or something, that they have arrived, and they kind of get into their ego about all of that. And they really haven't looked inside to see who they are, because you can't pretend in the spirit world. Many do. Either religious leaders do that, would try to control people, or even use illegal or illicit, the things that have happened around sex with some or gurus, things like that, that are, I'm not saying they're all bad. Some gurus are really helpful for people, but we need to be careful when we get some power, how we're using that. Many groups start out with a pure good intention and a leader, but once that leader gets some power, then we have to be really careful that we're actually really showing up in truth. And that's why honesty is so important, and that it's really important that we stay humble and stay aware and stay in service as we're growing on the spiritual path, and be careful about who we're maybe giving our trust to. Okay, so that is what is going on. Why is all the world going crazy and all these things happening? Because there's a lot of lower unawake energy. When your heart is closed, when you are asleep consciously, you can be talked into or manipulated into doing horrific things that one would never do if their heart was open. I remember this, the song Amazing Grace was written by a man who was bringing over African people to United States to be slaves. He was capturing people. And on the boat ride over, they got into a big storm, and he thought he was going to die. And he had this kind of awakening, and he wrote that song, Amazing Grace. I once was blind, but now I see. Amazing Grace. I can't remember the words right now, but Amazing Grace. I once was blind, but now I see. And so that is a story of awakening from a sleep state, from a state where we can be talked into killing each other in the name of God or religion or for profits, because we believe in scarcity and fear, or that there isn't enough. And so all these energies of prejudice and hate, they have no place in a world of awakened people. Think if all of our hearts were opened, the seas would purify, the oceans would purify. We would stop using all this plastic and pumping pollute, because there are other ways to create energy. We know this, but people are so stuck that they're not, able to let go of because you're only here temporarily. Your soul is forever. That's another thing we've been talked out of understanding, that this is all, we're making it up, and we've created a nightmare, and we can create a dream. And so I hope this video has been helpful for you, and check out my classes. Oh, I have a new course coming out, the Calling in the Golden Age, which is where we're looking at ourselves and learning about energy. I also have some Zoom classes that are coming out, and I will at some point be starting a school for practitioners. But these are the beginning courses that everyone should take if they want to learn how to manifest or work with energy, or receive guidance and awaken and have a solid support. So your solid support would be having a teacher that you trust or that you can listen to, and that may or may not be me. That's fine. And that you are grounded. Really, your authority needs to be within